Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Corporation Hull's 5-part introductory to who we are and what we're about. Today, we're going to be talking about the first pillar of our strategy, which is democracy. As citizens, we have both a right and a responsibility to contribute to the decisions that affect us. But these days, when so much is going wrong, it's clear that our councillors and our MPs are too busy playing party politics to listen to us. In order to face the challenges of our time, we need to take back power for ourselves. And that's why we started Corporation Hull, and that's why we're holding people's assemblies across the city. A people's assembly is basically a completely open public meeting that anyone can attend to talk about the issues that matter to them. Regular people coming together to make decisions, that alone will change our politics in ways we can't even imagine yet. People's assemblies bring people together who might appear very different on the surface. They might have different opinions, grown up in different areas, had different experiences. They might look or sound different. But what unites all of us is that we live in this place, we want what's best for ourselves and for our families, and we're done waiting for politicians to fix things for us. In an assembly where there are ground rules to make sure that every voice has an equal opportunity to be heard and that it's a safe and productive space, these differences can become a strength. No great invention in the history of humanity has been achieved by everybody sitting around and agreeing with each other. We need to be challenged to see things differently. We need new ideas and perspectives and the diverse skills that come from our different life experiences. And ultimately, we need to start working together to tackle the biggest problems of our times. There are many examples of how people's assemblies have transformed areas around the world and provided real and tangible benefits to people's lives. They've been used to redistribute wealth in Brazil. They've been used to win mayoral elections in Barcelona and Jackson, Mississippi, and they're central to the organizing strategy in Rojava. This is just a snapshot, but it's important to see how these ideas are part of a bigger picture and that they work. The decisions that come out of an assembly will inform the rest of Corporation Hull's strategy and vision, and practical outcomes will be implemented by a people's task force. The task force will be elected from, guided by, and accountable to the people's assemblies. And it's simply a smaller group of people who can make sure that the ideas that come out of an assembly actually get put into practice. Now, let's talk about elections. Hull has some of the lowest voter turnout in the country.
Marfleet averages about 13% for local council elections.
And who can blame them? What mandate does the council have to make decisions for us when most of us don't even consent to them being elected? Before the next election, we want to make sure that the People's Assembly of Hull is a thriving and vibrant organisation, and that we're in a place to select candidates from the local community who are willing to enact the will of the People's Assembly once in office. This means using the assembly process to find some of the amazing, inspiring people that live in Hull and helping them to take over the council. Those who run for election will always be accountable to and guided by the People's Assembly, which means that we can create a council that is truly representative rather than one that's beholden to national party lines. It will be up to the Assembly to decide what platform these candidates stand on, what are the priorities that we want to see implemented when they get elected. So by connecting a People's Assembly, genuine people power and community engagement, with delegates that sit in the council, we can transform how decisions are made in Hull. But what next? How do people's assemblies fit into the bigger picture? Our city doesn't exist in isolation. We're connected to the rest of the Yorkshire region, to the north, to the UK, to Europe, and ultimately to the whole earth. And that's a good thing. Around our country and the world, people are struggling against the same unjust and unequal power structures that govern our lives. We have so much to gain by sharing our skills and experience with communities that share our core democratic values, just like we would at an assembly. We know that the problems we face are too big for any one city to face them alone. There is a balance between the need to scale up our governance systems whilst also maintaining local autonomy. The elites who designed our current system chose to centralise all power at the top, at the level of the nation state. This made it easier for them to control politicians and ultimately to protect their own power and wealth. We believe that real democracy has to mean people having a direct say on the issues that affect them, rather than relying on the promises of an elected representative, no matter what party they're from. But then how do we work together to tackle national and global issues? Well, there is a way to do both. Democratic confederalism is an ideology proposed by Abdullah Öcalan, who spent the last 20 years imprisoned without trial in Turkey. Democratic confederalism is designed to scale up the process of decision-making while still preserving local democracy, and it's been used in Rojava to great success. Each town and city sends delegates to a regional confederation, for example, like the north of England, where we can make democratic decisions that affect all of us. These delegates are chosen by their respective assembly to relay the decisions that are made at a local assembly to the regional level, rather than being given power to make decisions themselves, like a representative. This means that by partaking in a debate on a big issue at their local People's Assembly, a person's views will be directly fed into regional decision-making. Confederations are an ancient form of democracy that was practiced by the Old English peoples as well as indigenous tribes around the world. If we can prove that People's Assemblies work in Hull, we believe that the idea will spread across the country. We could create the Democratic Confederation of the British Isles. Ultimately, we envision that democratic confederalism can be used to create a truly global democracy, where all of the people of Earth collaborate to solve the world's problems along the values of solidarity, peace, justice, and love. Faced with a choice between this utopian vision and the path that we're currently on, where a small number of incredibly greedy people are driving our planet towards famine, genocide, war, and apocalypse, we know where we stand. As these crises worsen, the elites know that the only way to avoid being held accountable for their many crimes is to pit us against one another, tell us that it's every man and every country for himself. But we know that even if Hull or the entire UK solved all of our own problems, it wouldn't make a difference if we shut out the rest of the world with barbed wire and machine guns. Our fate will be the same. So, we're citizens of Hull and citizens of Earth. This is an overview of how democracy informs everything that we do. The next step is to pair People's Assemblies with the real material resources that we need to affect change in the real world, which brings us to the next of our 5-pillar strategy, the economy. Join us for episode 3, where we'll be talking about how a solidarity economy, mutual aid economics, and a network of workers' cooperatives can help us to realise the vision that we come up with as a community through People's Assemblies. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to get involved with what Cooperation Hull are doing, it doesn't matter if you live in Hull or somewhere else around the country, drop us a message. Thanks for listening.